Republic of North America.
Of the Aboriginal Republic of North America.
Asserting our natural Aboriginal rights.
Asserting our natural Aboriginal rights.
As the oldest recorded.
As the oldest recorded.
Aboriginal indigenous peoples.
Aboriginal indigenous peoples.
Of the Americas.
Of the Americas.
Consisting of.
Consisting of.
An Aboriginal Union.
An Aboriginal Union.
Of indigenous peoples.
Of indigenous peoples.
Living in accord.
Living in accord.
With natural law.
With natural law.
The law of our ancestors.
The law of our ancestors.
Do hereby recognize.
Do hereby recognize.
All nationals of honor.
All nationals of honor.
As a unified community.
As a unified community.
Establish our divine right.
Establish our divine right.
To self-rule.
To self-rule.
A common defense.
A common defense.
Of our nation.
Of our nation.
A complete unified will.
A complete unified will.
For progress and prosperity.
For progress and prosperity.
By and for our people.
By and for our people.
Establishing justice.
Establishing justice.
By way of natural law.
By way of natural law.
And equality.
And equality.
And complete autonomy.
And complete autonomy.
As a nation.
As a nation.
Thank you, brothers and sisters. May I have a seat. Hopefully we brought some energy in the room. How's everybody feeling today? Wonderful. Great. Glad to be here. Got to make all y'all crazy resolutions. Right? Don't break them. Keep them. You know what I mean? Resolution means law. So you're attempting to establish some law. So anybody here for their first time? Never been here? First time? All right. Thank you for coming. We come to these classes around 1 p.m. every week here at Black and Nobel. And our objective is to communicate with the community, to establish some type of rapport with the community, to share education, to support a indigenous and black institution, and to come and allow you to ask questions to Arna about civics, law, political sovereignty, etc. In the middle of the hood, in the middle of crack vials, heroin, everything else that you can think of, but we have a brother who has been working in our community. How long Hawk had this bookstore, brother? About 14 years now?
Yeah.
14 years. I mean, he's been going in. I remember when we started, you know, way back over there in a little small spot. So give it up to Hakeem and Black and Nobel for providing us with a space. You can come here. You can get information for your children, all right? Children's books, children's education, adult education, the latest DVDs on the streets, coming all the way from Harlem to the West Coast, whatever, people teaching all over the country, attempting to bring education to our folk. You can come here and you can learn about those particular things. In the beginning, I want to give out our website for those of you who don't know about us. The website is governmentreparations.org. Governmentreparations.org. You can go there and you can learn all about the Aboriginal Republic of North America, what we do, our position in the way. You want to come up here and teach? No? Okay, you good. That's my daughter back there. She wants me to wave at. All right, so you can learn about political sovereignty, indigenous rights, and all the things that we talk about. You can also get some acute information. You may have a problem that you have in personally, financially, or something. You can ask it in class. You can set up a consultation. You can support what we are doing. There's a growing movement amongst young people to bring a new education to our people. Come on up. What's up? All right, look, I'm going to show you something. See this camera right here? Look, the whole world is watching you.
Look at the room.
All right, so we're here to talk this week about the plan for indigenous autonomy, what we do as a group, and then an important thing that I want to highlight is some of the obstacles. You know, you're going to come up with different types of obstacles when you come in to work with black people, coming to work with indigenous people, attempting to do business with indigenous people, attempting to bring some level of unity and, you know, all those things. You're going to come up, you know, against obstacles. And so we need to be prepared to stay focused, to stay diligent, and to also apply ourselves to do this, to qualify ourselves to really assist ourselves, our families, our people. You have to qualify yourself. And what I mean by qualify yourself, I mean that I've been to college. I went to this college right down the street, all right? Temple University. Graduated from this place, all right? Great. Nothing wrong with getting education in, you know, the modern world. Skill sets, you know, you might want to be an electrician, architect, that's great. But a great part of this is understanding and comprehending how that is going to equip you to deal with the social fabric that you're interfacing with. All right? That part is very, very important for all indigenous people, because whether you want to be or not, you are at war. You are literally at war. All right? Every moment that you operate in this climate, you're at war. And the reason why you're at war is because there are people who are oppositional to your natural law principles that you are attempting to exude as you learn them. All right? We've all been here. We grew up here in the United States of America, and we grew up picking up habits and things that are actually anti our survival and our progress. And we experience that in our life. We experience that in families, we experience that in marriage, we experience that in our health, we experience those things. And so now what we are on a mission to continue to do, standing on the shoulders of those who came before us, is to become more meticulous about the strategy of progress and survival. The details of it. How are we going to operate for our own political sovereignty, our own spiritual sovereignty, our own cultural sovereignty? These are things that have to be a part of your conversation. These are things that need to be, you have to develop a scientific procedure to deal with. All right? And you have to be creative about it. All right? So the first thing I want to mention is that one of my elders, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. Matter of fact, for those online who've never seen her, I'll show her your picture. I'll show you her picture. All right? Is there madness going on in the back? Uh-oh, somebody's going to get in trouble. No. No, sir. Go sit down. You know you're going to get it. One of the things I always tell them is, if you have a problem inside of a public place or private place, that always discuss it. So, I'm going to have to give him the old daddy talk. All right. So, look. How many people know Dr. Frances Cress Welsing? Raise your hand. All right, she passed. When? She passed Saturday. Oh. She passed Saturday. Wow. She had a stroke earlier during the week, and she passed on Saturday around 5 o'clock in the morning. Wow, I shake to her. All right. I shake. Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm going to show people who've never seen her just a picture of her, and I'm going to say something about her work that's vital to understanding some of the things that we're doing here. Absolutely. Vital. Absolutely. All right. For you to get. So this is our great sister right here. This is a picture of her. Yes. So she is no longer with us in the sense of walking around in her body, but she's definitely with us. All right. And that's also a sign. It's not belief. All right. All right. So if you've never seen this young lady, all right, this is her, and she's a psychiatrist. All right. She was a psychiatrist. Let me put some of these other things down. Excuse me. I'm kind of moving these things around. I don't need all this stuff here. All right. Just for the people online so they can see her, because some people don't even know who she is. But I'm about to blow some people's brains away about how important this woman was. All right. Sometimes we have people that are so important in our midst that we don't recognize what they're actually bringing to us. And so the opposition who does recognize someone like this does everything in their power to deliberately, directly, and indirectly subvert a person like this. And sometimes we do it just by the chain reaction of being Negroes. All right? So Dr. Frances Cress Welsing was a psychiatrist. She graduated from Howard University, all right? And she was one of the students of a man named Neely Fuller. Neely Fuller brought the concept of racism as a systematic operation to black people. Prior to that, racism was talked about. There were great teachers who talked about it. Marcus Garvey, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave the history, and she brought it, the concept of it being Dr. Neely Fuller brought the concept of non-white people having this experience of racism as a systematic operation. You heard the concept of institutional racism, right? That comes from him. And so this was his star pupil, all right, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. And she wrote this book, amongst many other materials, the ISIS papers. This book is a discussion on the concept of racism based on the genetic fear and the subconscious fear that white people have for people of melanin all across the planet, and why they do what they do as a survival mechanism as the minority on the planet. And so when she wrote this book, she changed the concept of psychiatry and psychology in the black community. So you got people who come later like Dr. Umar Johnson and all these other people, and these great psychologists and psychiatrists, Dr. Amos Wilson. All right? This is the woman that birthed. This is the first book that I ever read that woke me up. This book right here. Before I touched anything, before I touched the Messager's teachings, before I was in the 5% Nation of Islam Gospel, I read this book. Somebody gave me this book in college. The person who gave it to me didn't even read it. But when they saw it, they was like, oh, you need this.
What year did it come out?
This came out in 91, I think. And I got this book in 96. Late 96, 1996. All right. So that's about 20 years ago. All right. And so the reason why the person gave me the book, check this out. This is all under the guise of structural racism. Is because as an athlete, right down here, I was on scholarship at Temple University, they told me that I could not go to the Million Man March or I would lose my scholarship. Wow. What? It wasn't something that they did lawfully. They pulled me in a room after they found out I was talking about it on the field. Because I saw all this stuff. I'm like, oh, I'm going to that. They pulled in, no, you're not. It's like, yo, we're going to pull your scholarship. Now, if you go to Temple, undergrad, you know, it's a pretty hefty fee. And so I'm sitting there like, ah. I wasn't fully aware of the mechanics of what was going on, but I knew intuitively, like, oh, people hate black people. You see what I'm saying? If this man, Minister Farrakhan, is calling all these men, people together, millions of people, for the good of the community, why are you oppositional to that? Okay, and then the thought was, well, he's racist. That made me want to look at him more. I already knew about him, you know, generally, not to the level that I needed to. I was young, 18, 19 years old. And so the person who gave me this book was there when that happened. Right? So in 96, that next year, he's like, man, take this. You need to read this. And so when we started our political entity 10 years ago, we named it the International Society of Indigenous Sovereigns. And I took this is why I named it ISIS. It was because of this woman, all right? I had never seen someone that articulate and self-control. She debated some of the top scholars and scientists in the white, William Shockley.
Tore him out the frame.
Tore him out the frame. On the field down in experienced though. But she was so in tune with the actuality and the reality of society, she was able to just break it down, and the white people just stand there. They couldn't reject it.
That's right.
But it was the concepts that were important. So now, she wrote this book, and as far as psychology and psychiatry are concerned, this should be a standard textbook in high school and college curriculums if you run in an indigenous institution.
Absolutely.
This right here.
Absolutely.
This should be the standard model to understand the subconscious symbol concepts that infuse white supremacy. And that's what you need to understand, that those things around us are being intentionally set in place to make a black child choose a white doll and say it's beautiful as opposed to a black doll. And we're wondering, where did they get this from? The reason why you don't know where they get this from is because you're not that type of scientist. Your life has been steeped in belief and foolish tradition. Scientist comes around you, whether they're mad or not, it don't matter. They're still a scientist. And they can still get the output of what they want, which is the defeat of your community. And your community is being defeated because we have not qualified ourselves based on indigenous sciences to counteract that. So, let me set a point. because I said this lecture is about the plan for indigenous autonomy and the obstacles. One of the obstacles is a person like this. Now I'm sharing some private information, but I got the private information. I know it's true. She was having severe problems to the point of losing her home.
Wow.
Now she died of a stroke, which is nothing but.
Exactly. Wow.
So she stayed from the moment that she came into consciousness to the time that her last breath went out. The race did not stay loyal to her.
Wow.
Because the reality is, even though I didn't know, somebody knew that she was going through something, and then nobody stood up and said, listen, this is Dr. Francis Cress Wilson.
Exactly. Wow.
This is not Creflo Dollar. This is not T.D. Jakes. This is not the nigga wearing gator shoes, killing all the animals. This is somebody who stayed loyal from the time that she came into consciousness to the time she went out. Where was her GoFundMe page?
Exactly.
To make sure that she was taken care of. Brothers, this is your mama.
That's right.
Exactly.
This is your mama on the war field.
Yes.
It's not your mama drinking tequila and eggnog on Christmas. So my first position is that one of the obstacles is Negro mania. Negro mania is a real disease. We're the first ones to diagnose it. Negro mania consists of all types of systems, but at its core is niggas who don't know themselves and don't behave within themselves, within that paradigm properly. And so this, when I heard about this, it shook me. But then I thought, wow, this is why did this happen? Because I went back, because this is my birth, and then I just pulled the book out and I just looked at it. And look at it. Who's on the front? A black woman, a throne, a semicircle representing the sun. That is the glyph for Aset. And Isis is the Phoenician or Canaanite version of the word. And so you have a black woman dealing with the mental health of her community based on culture, which will put them back on the throne. So now what these people have done is they have taken this name and turned it into complete fear, which is exactly what she dealt with.
Exactly.
The technique that they use with this phony CIA organization called ISIS that's making everybody afraid, right? Because we know ISIS is really a black goddess. Everybody who has some sense on the planet knows that. The people who are promoting ISIS as a terrorist group know that ISIS is not a terrorist group. They're just a bunch of people who either were made, infiltrated, or being formed by U.S. intelligence agencies. Fact. So now, people will be scared to buy this book because they'll think ISIS papers. What kind of papers are those? Is that book legal?
Right.
They'll come into Black and Nobel and see the book up on the shelf like, oh, what? Okay. I'm leaving here. So this is how they play mind games. They do it on our children. They make our children think or afraid of their history. Now, if you don't have culture in your home, your children will hate ISIS. Think about that. And if they see something like this, they're going to run from it. If you don't have the defense mechanisms put in place to protect them. All right? And so, check this out. Check out what she says. I want to read something. I lost my page. If I can find it. That's what's making them do this outside. You hear that? She's singing to Jesus. All right, I ain't gonna stop. I ain't gonna start on Jesus on Sunday. God might strike me down.
Big Chief, while you looking for that?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, proactively, or reactively, but being proactive in our reaction to what we see presently with Sister Francis Cress Wilson, employing things that would create the paradigm for this never happening again. Because when you said it,
I'm talking about it
my
right now,
heart
yep.
started crying. I'm like, oh wow. I mean, I remember when I used to manage themes and books. This was one of the major books that we promoted in regards to just bringing around awareness to Black consciousness.
Right.
But I think about people like her, you know, Dr. Drew Pookrum, even presently looking at Joyce Leary DeGruy, and some of these greats like that that are talking about things and doing with things in manners that others just aren't really approaching.
Right.
You know, making sure that we have funds available in some way, shape, or form, but that then means creating, you know, community coming together to create that economic backing, to have the resources to create institutions where we could have brought them here and taken care of them and, you know, made sure that they were good and then send them back on with some funds, you know, because it takes money.
Right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
so, you know, creating something like that is, that's my passion.
Right, absolutely.
My passion.
See, and then a part of the problem is we believe in a mystery God that is going to happen. How is it going to happen? It has to happen through planning. And how you plan for something like that is you have to have. I'm going right back to our point. You have to have a body politic that supports itself and can manage that type of department without exterior funding from parties who don't want to contribute to it. All right. So the question just becomes: just look at yourself over the last few in the holiday season. What have you supported? Better question: if you supported a Black business, were you really supporting Black business? My answer is hell no, because Black businesses are registered with white people. So we go right back to the conversation we had 3 weeks ago: is how do we set up a business structure where indigenous peoples are registering their own businesses, getting their own EIN structures, setting up their own business articles, learning how to interface with these institutions? We already have the model. We've been running it for years. I told you last year in 2015, I registered 279 nonprofit businesses without asking permission from anybody. I didn't need permission from the IRS. I didn't need permission from any other entities. And those people are running their businesses right now. And all we're saying is we want to spread that ideology, but there's something going on. See, in order for me to have the courage to even think to do that, right, I have to know what's inside of my head, right? And I have to flush the garbage out so the real power can come in. There's too much garbage on our heads.
Indeed.
There's too much emotional baggage. The trauma that we have that makes us behave inordinately to our own defeat is present. You don't get rid of that by reading books and getting conscious. It doesn't happen. All right? Not only is it work, it's institutional work. Because listen, we cannot divorce ourselves from thousands of years of history on psychology developed by Black people and then jump into a Carl Jung and a Sigmund Freud conversation as if we know the human mind. So what my point is, there are no Black people, besides people like this, she is, who are even qualified to talk about healing the Black community because they don't even know what the Black mind is based on their own culture. You're all disqualified. All right? And we see, we see the evidence of it. So let's get to the point. She dealt with something that's very important. Matter of fact, it's more important than anything you can talk about. No. There is no other more importance than what she developed in this book. If it is, show it to me. Listen, Black people got money. We got homes. We got land in Africa. We got land in America. We got all kinds of things going on. We got big businesses. We got Wall Street. Look, we everywhere. We got accounting firms. We got the only thing we don't have is our sense. Which means that all of that is trinkets and cannot protect your survival in the future. How many times do you have to have a Red Fox, a Sammy Davis Jr., a Bill Cosby for you to get that?
Exactly. Right.
How many times you got to have that?
Exactly.
The moment when they press the button on you, right? Because Bill Cosby and his wife own land in Massachusetts. that's in a place where they wanted to run this pipeline, and now they can't run the pipeline, so they push the button on you.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Now, he's not getting on TV and saying that. His lawyer's not going to get on TV and saying that. And they're probably scared of the people who press the button. They're trying to figure out, well, who is it? That's another conversation. But let me get to the point. She says on page 297, Adolf Hitler, who came to power in Germany in 1933, became the most forceful articulator of that most fundamental of all fears of the global and local white collective, the fear of white genetic annihilation caused by people classified as non-white. Wow. So her premise is on the subconscious operation of the minority of the planet, which is the white race. They fear at its rudimentary reality the genetic annihilation of them by someone who they know subconsciously is genetically superior. And so out of the fathom of that psychiatry, that psychology, they behave in order to restrict, dominate, kill, maim, and do other things to these people. Reverse, the dominant mindset of the black people on the planet now is trying to be like white people. So now, we're not even trying to genetically annihilate them. Matter of fact, we're trying to be closer to them, more like them, hair like them, nails like them, clothes like them. We're trying to be closer to them, and they still have this feeling. Where is this feeling come from? I have a new word for it. It's called melanin envy. Melanin envy is the envy of non-melanated people towards melanated people. It's the same concept as Dr. Frances Cress Wilson.
Penis envy, I think she.
Yeah. And so now, she goes on to say, indeed, it can be said that Adolf Hitler was the highest crystallization of the white supremacy mindset, based upon the fear of white genetic annihilation and its companion thought, white genetic survival by any necessary and conceivable means. Hitler became, because he tapped into the deepest fear, was able to have the support and sympathy of the masses of the people who, like himself, classified themselves as white then and now. Now, check this out. There was a study done, I forget the name of this show, I'll pull it up at a later date. But it was about studying the brain chemistry of people who have no sympathy for other people.
Yes.
Right? And basically, the orchestrator, David something, was on there, and he was testing people's brains and giving them images and putting them under MRI after they see these images to see, okay, well, what's going on in your brain?
I saw that program.
Yeah. Exactly. So they was going past homeless people and showing, some people have sympathy for the homeless people, some people don't. Some people have, and it's all based on propaganda. Right? He showed that the propaganda of some people, them growing up in certain ways, caused them to have less of for certain types of people. And so you and I have had the highest level of propaganda made against us ever. And even in the modern times, the Hollywood mechanism is being used internationally to make people feel like specifically black people in America are nothing but coons and clowns. A classic example is when you have powerful, popular entertainers, all right? They could be in movies, comedy, wherever they are, even athletes. The one thing that white males always want to do is make those powerful males into feministic images.
Exactly.
So they have to put on a dress, some type of crazy stuff in a public image to be exported to the world.
Right.
Now this started way back. So now you got Eddie Murphy, all right? You got Tyler Perry, all right? You got, matter of fact, Dave Chappelle. Dave Chappelle was a comedian when he did the interview with Oprah. What did he say? He said they kept trying to get him to put on this dress.
Right.
And he's like, man, I don't want to put on no dress. Give me some other script or something. They go, oh, you got to put on the dress. They kept bringing different people to him. He was like, he figured it out. Like, oh, y'all are trying to effeminize me and use the image. And he said he started thinking about all of his other brothers.
Right.
Who did it. All of them did it. Chris Rock did it.
Mm-hmm.
All of them. They all did it. They all put on something feminine.
Right. Exactly.
All right? And so now, tied to the effeminization of the black male is this concept of white genetic survival.
Right.
And what is the connection? We must export the image that this being is powerless to get other people to adopt this concept. So now you can go to Africa and you can see all kind of crazy stuff. That came from here. It didn't exist. All right? You could go online and Google. They're in Ghana and with dresses on and all this stuff.
Yeah.
That was a part of propaganda.
Absolutely. I.e.
All right?
mind control.
Absolutely. So now, what is the counter to propaganda? The counter to propaganda is having a culture with a spiritual root.
All right.
That is the counter.
All
And so, anybody who's going to teach culture is going to be directly and indirectly attacked.
You.
ISIS.
You.
Indirectly or directly attacked. Now, what happens when you have an effeminized black male? When you have an effeminized black male, the community has no protection. No matter how good the mother is, no matter how strong she is, no matter how good she raised those children, she might get a batch that comes out right, but out of the community, you got 90% wrong and 10% right. Which means white genetic survival wins by the numbers. Because even at 10%, you don't have no indigenous universities, no jobs for them. They're going to go to Temple, they're going to go to UPenn, and they're going to become Barack Obama. We win 100%. And so, what are we having a real conversation about? Most of our people are having a conversation about nothing. It's not that we don't want any of us to be successful in the world that we're in. We just want you to stay black when you do it.
Right.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with staying loyal to your race? You know what? What's wrong with it? People think that you are not going to have economic integrity when you do it. And they actually use real live examples before them. This is a real live example I'm talking about right here. So if black people want to realize why people don't stay loyal, it's because the people feel like they are not going to be able to make it. But they're deficient in something. They're also deficient in something. See, when you feel like that, you don't really have a real plan.
Right.
You don't.
Right.
Or, let me say this. Your plan is not rooted in mathematical law. Your plan is not rooted in scientific law. Your plan is not rooted in artistic law, which is creativity. All right? And so let's go back to this thing about, because I'm about to read something, and I want to get the pretext. When you have a community of over-effeminized men, through diet, through custom, through ritual, they are going to continuously self-implode their own communities. Because as soon as you ask for order and discipline, you're going to find out that the estrogen can't respond. The estrogen cannot respond to order and discipline in men or women, because estrogen is a cancer. Now, we've been studied so much that what are they doing now? They have books on the estrogen effect, on how pharmaceuticals are dumping estrogen into your waters, the food. Do you think that's by accident? That is in support of white genetic survival. So they are fighting a war of astronomical impact. Everybody in their society is looking for operating based on their nature. And their goal is you're black in every way you can imagine, and that's where your power is cut off. You're cut off from your power. You're cut off from your whole spirit. That's what it means to be dead. And so now you can't function in getting resources, right? Resources, money, land, whatever, because in order to acquire that, you just have to have some order minus the parasites coming in and being a determiner of anything. So what happens on the planet? Oh, we have these things, these cell phones, and we discovered that we need a mineral out of Africa to run them. So what are we gonna do? Okay, this is what we're gonna do. Patrice Lumumba just met with Kwame Nkrumah. That's a bad thing for us. We have a problem because Patrice Lumumba is not going to let us into the Congo to get this mineral that we need for computers, that we need for these transistors, that we later needed for cell phones. So what are we going to do? Let's go get a nigga from amongst his own camp to set him up. Let's fund the opposition to create the coup. So now you need people who are disloyal. But ask yourself a question. Why do we keep making these disloyal people to the race amongst the race? Where did they come from? All right? Where did they come from? One of the things you have to understand in Africa is that prior to European invasion, just like ancient America and other places, ISIS, a sect, the women made sure the throne was in place. You know what this actually is right here? A throne is a symbol of something that's more ancient than the concept of the throne. It's a birthing stool. So a lot of times you'll see her sitting on it with a child on her lap. So if you're a midwife, you understand what I'm saying. It's the birthing stool. And the birth process, right, of how children come into existence is what keeps the integrity of the community.
Wow.
And so, white people came in under the Berlin Conference and they created disaster in Africa. They raped all the culture. They took all the indigenous institutions and they flipped them upside down. So now what we think is African spirituality is actually white supremacy. We can prove it. Because at the head of your interpretation of it is a whole bunch of white people. Oh, what do you study? I study Maya. Where did you learn that from? Oh, I learned that from E.A. Wallace Fudge. Bruce. Germans. All these people are translating ancient texts telling you what they mean.
Zachariah extension.
Yeah, all these folks. And so now, anything that's actually, black, it's been flipped. Everything is flipped upside down. That's my point. And so look, the birthing, so that's how you get Negroes amongst your community. If you don't have a culture of how the children come into existence and it's been breached, you're always going to produce that operation. Because an indigenous person who comes into existence who is not loyal to his community is a child who was a poor pedigree. Y'all might not want to have this conversation. It doesn't mean they have to stay that way, because by nature, if you come in this melanin sheath, you are equipped at any moment to be yourself. Even if something happened in the 9-month process, or at 3 years old, or 5 years old, or whatever, even if something happened bad, you are equipped to be yourself at any moment. You just need the contact. We're all the proof. Right? We all grew up in the same stuff, eating the same chitlins, ham hock, yams, ham, all the stuff that deprives us of our life. And in some kind of way, we came into contact with something that was, boom, the explosion. And once we came into contact with, what happened? Natural order went into play. It wasn't nothing outside of yourself. Your drive and your desire to be yourself start kicking in. Start kicking in more. Start kicking in more. So it shows you already engineered to sit on this throne. You already engineered. All right? Once you become self-aware of that and what the real opposition is, externally and internally, all right? Then you start setting up what? A culture to support what we're doing. So, our sister developed concepts that we need to study. And let me finish reading this so you can get this point. Let me finish reading this so you can get this point. All right. I want to get to this point where the scientist made this point about Hitler. All right, it's basically more propaganda, but get this book. And I want to read the caption of the book. For the sake of Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, I want to say one more thing about her. During the course of the struggle of African people against European racism, brutality, and domination, many innovative thinkers have risen from our ranks. The greatest and most courageous scholars have devoted their lives to the pursuit of an explanation for the virtually inherent animosity most white people appear to have toward people of color. Inherent.
Yes.
Now, some of us don't believe that it's inherent, but all you have to do is test it. See your little white friends that you have? Oh, I want to be multicultural. Oh, I want to be so American. I'm going to test it. Unlike her predecessors, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, a brilliant Washington, D.C. psychiatrist, has rejected conventional notions about the origin and perpetration of racism. Dr. Welsing's theories, lectures, and scientific papers have provoked controversy for over 20 years. Now, the compilation of her work, the ISIS papers, is destined to change the course of history. All right? And it is. It is changing. So, check this out. There was a brother. He's not even a brother. He's a nigger to the 10th degree. And I hope he watched this lecture. His name is Mark Lamont Hill. Nigger to the 10th degree. I'm going to tell you why you the nigger to the 10th degree. All right. He gets on TV. Y'all seen him, right? A brilliant brother by nature. You see him on commentary CNN. He posts something about her right after her death, denigrating her.
Really?
First he posts something that was positive. Then some other little faggot got online and started talking about, yeah, she was great, but she has this thing against homosexuals, and so we can't mix in. Basically tried to malign her because of the homosexual stuff that she talked about. Because she talks about homosexuality as a great rift in the black community that's breaking up black families, and she gives the psychiatric thesis that she has about the origins and why we participate in it. She talks about slavery, she talks about other things. So Mark Lamont Hill is pro-homo, which is cool. We ain't got no problem with that. That's your business. You know what I mean? We're not for it, but if you want to get in CNN and fight for gay people's rights, we got no problem with that, right? But the day after a person like this dies, you go on public media and say something denigrating about her. Listen, I'm going to just be straight up. We got a whole bunch of surgeons that's looking for your tongue. That's the rule on that.
Right.
You know what? Here's the thing for the brothers. If somebody that you didn't know was at your front step and your grandma was in the house and she had just come home from church, and let's say she parked the car and she might have been blocking somebody on the street or something, something small. And the nigga had the audacity to come out and say something foul to your grandma. Well, no, we don't have a problem. The problem is gone. He has a problem. Because he's going to have to come back in a to experience life again. Why he has? That's just the rule. In certain people, they're hands off.
That's right.
She's one. When they stay loyal to the race, they're hands off. You're not just going to come up here and talk about Marcus Garvey. We ain't going to have it. Leave him alone. Okay, you can disagree with him. I don't think that he blah, 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 blah. But the day after she died, you know what I mean? You are supposed to be a person in the community that is expressing whatever for whatever you want to do, and you work for white folks. All right? I don't care if they indigenous or non-indigenous. It's hands off. So the warning shot is, brother, calm down. All right? We love you. We know you get excited, and you want to talk about everything because you're a news reporter, and you comment on certain things. There's certain people that's hands off. So let's leave the elders alone. Period.
Agreed.
That's it. Nothing to talk about. Let's leave them alone. If you want to talk about the book and the content of the book and something you disagree with, that's fine. We got no problem with that. But you don't come denigrating a person the day after they die. Facebook and look at his post if he hasn't taken it down yet. Because I don't have anything personal against him. I'm saying that on principle. The principle is when you have people who have done something like this, you leave the sister alone. You know what I mean?
Not like you were there to support her.
Exactly. Leave the sister alone. Let her, as they say, rest in power or rest in peace or however you want to say it. All right. So that's just the warning shot. Levi elders alone. These are people who give their life to express what they express. If you don't agree, that's fine. But there's a force field of protection that we want to invoke around them, and so we don't need that. So now, Dr. Francis Cress Wilson talks about white genetic annihilation, right? And I'm using the Patrice Lumumba example for a reason. Because Mobutu, the leader after him who was put up and given all this money by Western powers, came in and let all the white folks in, and what happened? When the white folks came in, started getting the technology and commerce improved so much that now of the assassination, I want you to think about this. Because of the assassination of Patrice Lumumba, white folks have built the biggest corporation on the planet that's called Apple. Yep. Without Patrice Lumumba gone, there would be no Apple. Think about that. There would be no iPhones. There would be none of these things. So my point is that white people can get really rich off of killing black people to get what's there. Now, if they were like, real humans, they could have said, well, listen, y'all got something there that we think we can use. How about we make a deal? Since you're indigenous to the land, we got some technology. We will help invest in your political system, Patrice Lumumba, and in return for it, we can use the technology to improve society. Great, that's human. Congo wins, Europe gets the advantage. Great, no problem. But no, we can't do it like that. We're greedy. We want to go in, all right, and get these minerals in order to make society better. So now here's the point. Here's the travesty. Here's the travesty. And I got to get the numbers on this to verify this. But in the Congo, over 5.5 million people have died in these mines. There are children working in these mines. Because they have to go into places that, the contractors can't get, and they use small people. This is a public issue, so much so that I think there was a rule that a law that Congress wanted to pass, and they shot it down. It's called the what's the name of this? I forget the name of it, but it'll come up. But basically, that travesty has killed more people than any other war in the United States history besides World War II. So the sacrifice of black life to make life commerce for Europeans. And now here we are, right? We got all these little devices, right? All I'm saying is there's black blood all over them. So here we are with political wherewithal, financial wherewithal, access to technology, and we won't even use it to address these political issues on an international scale. You know why? Because we don't have a body politic to do it. We got to speak through the window of America. Is Barack Obama going to say something about it? Is Jesse Jackson going to say something about it? Is Al Sharpton going to say something about it? If Barack Obama, Jesse Jackson, and Al Sharpton don't say something, we don't have a voice. The end. But we do have a voice. All right? So one of the objectives for 2016 is I have some people who are supporting a campaign to stop this. And so this is where we come into the civics and the political science. Even though we talk about the fiction and all those other things, there are things that we can do to change the operation of these things. One of the things that we could do is change that operation because Congress has already addressed it and it got shot down because it didn't have enough people backing it up. Meanwhile, as we speak, there are children dying in the Congo to make sure you get the new iPhone 7. So you see, it's hustling backwards. Right? It's hustling backwards. Because that's all energy. That's all reality. And my point is, at the apex of that, we become the feeder of our own defeat. That's the point. We feed our own defeat, one, out of ignorance, two, out of lack of proficiency, three, out of lack of a formidable plan. That's it. And so now if we could become more proficient, less ignorant, and better plans in our own life, in our own family, we can do some things. We can do some things. All right? You can't be lazy. You can't feel sorry for yourself, regardless of the situation, and you got to work. Sometimes you got to stay up real late, all right, to make sure it gets done. And you got to know what you're doing. So we want to talk about some of these things. So our position on this is, I'll say it over and over again, our position on this is we need a body politic. You don't have to be a part of ARNA, but you need to understand that all black organizations need to form themselves as indigenous institutions on the basis of international human rights law. Period. That's what you need to do. All of them need to do that. If you don't do that, you are going to be caught economically. It's going to stress you out, so you have no time to infuse yourself with your culture through institutions. And if you don't have schools and institutions to infuse your culture through, you're just going to continue the cycle of death, white supremacy, and all the other things that's been going on. It's not going to change. And so the message that we have is we have to make the ISIS papers real. We have to make the ISIS papers real. This is the thesis. All right, we have to make it real. How are we going to make it real? It's really simple, right? One, we have to learn how to operate our own indigenous body politics. Two, we have to learn how to interface with the one that's already here. We master those two things, we will begin to make progress, and I'm about to go into the details of that. So the first thing that we have to do after we begin to form body politics, all right, how we do that is through a plebiscite. A plebiscite is simply a document announcing that your organization, institution, school, medical association, whatever it is operating in line with international indigenous human rights law. To form a bylaws and constitutions based on that premise. All right? And then from that, you can now use the techniques that we have in ARNA to make sure everybody in the institution starts business within the institution. That simply looks like we can go get our jurists and say, listen, we need you to go over to Black and Nobel Human Rights Institute, and Black and Nobel wants to open up a franchise. They want to open up one in Charlotte, in Atlanta, in Miami, in Houston. And what we want to do, we want to make sure that those businesses are indigenous businesses. So we need you to form the articles. We need you to get the EIN numbers, jurists. I'm talking to my jurists now. The jurists are the people who we train and give credentials to do these things. We can do it right now. You go over and form the business articles. You get the EINs. You make up the W-9s so that the businesses can be tax exempt. Period. The businesses are now up and operating. So every book that's sold in here does not go to the IRS or the municipal services building as far as taxes is concerned. The money goes all to Black and Nobel. Now Black and Nobel, after saving themselves thousands of dollars in taxes, can increase the revenues for the people who work for them, all right? And now they have more space to invest in making their franchise work for themselves. That's how simple it is. And we could take that platform and use it for the black pay, use it for now. All right? So my mantra for 2016 is, let ARNA teach you how to get free. And let ARNA work its own issues inside of itself out so that it can continue to propel its message. But let us show you how to get free. It only takes a weekend. All right? Bring us in for a seminar. We'll break the whole business template down for you that weekend. By that next Monday, you up and you operating. All right? Otherwise, continuing on. Here come tax season. Here come this. Here come that. Here come more bills. Oh, I need another loan. Oh, I'm in more debt. That's what they're doing in Africa right now. That's what they're doing to black businesses here. They get you in debt, right? Then they come to you with the side conversation like, oh, why don't you just change that? Change that. Change that. Change that. And you'll be way better off. and you change it and it don't look like nothing about your original creation. Then next thing you know, what do? They say, well, listen, it's not looking too good. You owe us a little bit of money. Why don't you sell the business to us? And you come out with a great idea, then you sell the business, then they go back to your original plan and make it a multi-million dollar business. All right? So the business structure has to change. Let us train all the black and indigenous institutions in America so they can get a better business framework. The business framework that you're working under right now has too many holes in it. And it makes you responsible to too many parties that are leeching off of you as far as the finances are concerned. You need to change that. We can literally take a small group of jurists amongst our society and change that whole dynamic for everybody around. So if you know somebody that runs a black business, invite them to this class. Share the live stream link with them. Let them sit and listen for a little while. Then let them come to the website, come to the classes, come somewhere, ask questions, so they can say, well, what is this indigenous business thing? Is it legit? All right? Is it real? Can we operate it? The next thing we want you to do is learn how to operate your family based on indigenous economics. What are we saying? We want to remove all the encumbrances from you. All right? Sales tax, property tax, IRS taxes, fraudulent student loans. All of these weights are weighing you down. All right? Fraudulent legal processes instituted against you because you don't have people that can give you basic knowledge about how to do this, how to get it right. Stop using public defenders. You know, you get caught in some little stupid situation. Now the judge is telling you, you got to do this and you got to do that and you got to sign this plea agreement. And you sign the plea agreement, now your record is messed up, now you can't do nothing. Now you're scruffling. All right? It's a cycle. All right? These are people who set these things up. Guess what? We can counteract them. We can counteract them now. We're talking about counteracting white supremacy as a institutional racism. That's what I'm talking about. Time, right now, next week, next Monday, next Wednesday, next Thursday, next day. That's what we're talking about. So, what does this look like? We're about to go into some books right now. All right. This book is vitally important for you to use to teach your children yourself the reality of everything that we're doing in honor and the history. Your in the future at your institutions if you're going to survive. You can't have Christopher Columbus discovered America. Black people came from primates in Africa, out of Africa theory. Evolution is a reality, and God doesn't exist. I said three things that are vitally important. Now I'll break them down. First of all, we know Christopher Columbus didn't discover America. Yep. Everybody here knows that, right? But guess what? You send your children to school, they still learn. Now, the education has to be based on institutional racism because the books that I use to research the fact that one, indigenous peoples were coming from other places to the America thousands of years before Columbus. That's known in literature. Yes. So why is it that it is not available for your children to see those images? The physical images that are on the front page of this book. Why can't they see the people who are called Olmec Mayans with the same hairstyles that they got? Amongst these big, huge pyramids and stuff, why can't they see that? You know why they can't see that? Because it's going to instill them with the pride to be great. And that's not a part of the plan of the people who put the curriculums together.
Right, right.
So now, your children are literally saturated and being saturated with false ideas and concepts about history that are affecting their subconscious mind and making them behave a certain way. And so all we're saying is we have the adequate information now in text material. You can literally break down to your children that indigenous people, black people, have been here as far as we know. There's been no time that they weren't here. And the precept of the tradition is history in our culture is always now. I'm going to say that again. White folk developed this concept called history. You know what it's about? It's about studying what happens and records and documents and all these things. You know why they do that? Because they don't have a history. So they're trying to figure out everything else about a world that they weren't a part of. You were a part of it. And so you can look everywhere on the planet and find black people living, doing things, existing, and doing great things. And so if that's the reality, we should be doing great things now. Why we're not doing great things now is because they developed this thing called history. And it has you in a time warp. It even gets black people in a time warp. Oh, look at us. We developed pyramids and we that. Okay, well, what you doing right now? What about right now? The reason why you feel like you can't do that now, right, is because you weren't infused with it as a model for you to say inside of your head, I can take those same things and do them now because you don't have a paradigm to express it. So what does it look like? Oh, I want to go build a pyramid now. Okay, well, brother, you need this pyramid, you need this permit right here, you need this tax thing right here, you need all these documents right here. What you going to build? Is that part of the code? The zone structure says you can't build that. Oh, we got to bring our techniques. So they put that inside of you when you're young. Now when you go to school and you learn architecture, you're talking about all this stuff, and you don't even have an indigenous paradigm to say, well, no, we don't need that. We have our own specialists. So we need to make history now. If we're indigenous then, we're indigenous now. What does it mean? All right. But what do? They throw all kind of false names on you. They throw all kind of false names on you. I didn't do it. They did it. They take their names and give you their names. All right? And so what does it do? It scrambles your confusion about who you were and where you were. All right? One of the biggest names, and people don't like when I say this, I got to say it though. Listen, they made you African. The Africans are African. Right. The Africans are African. You go there, they know their clan name, they know their history, they know their lineage. They're not saying, oh, we African. They doing that for paperwork and documents, and they know, understand, like, yo, they're not African. Nobody there is African. Everybody knows, if they don't know, it's because of colonization, but they pretty much understand, like, yo, listen, I'm my side. Yeah, I'm Igbo. Clan names. So white folks took their name, African, they were the first African, and applied it to all of the people. What's the psychosis of it? Now you're talking about African power. Roman power? See what, look, you know what African power looks like? It looks like still registering your business as a white folks. So now, if the frequency of the word was actually empowering, it would unravel all of white supremacy. It would do all of it. All of it would just explode and implode and stuff. It's not powerful enough because it came from them. Now, let me fuse you with this understanding. The whole universe is magic. Every sound, every action is mathematics. And so now, if you are not in the rhythm of mathematics, you're not going to get the end result. All right? You could be in a room lifting weights, powerlifting. Come out. Come out here. All right, let's get on these mats. What are we going to get on the mats for? Oh, we about to do a workout. See how strong you are. So you done develop all the biceps and all of, but the tendons and ligaments are weak. And as soon as we put you in one position, you just fold. Because you're not really strong. All right? You haven't developed the techniques for actual strength. All right? You haven't developed the, how does Brother Bilal call it? The aerobic exercise. You develop an anaerobic exercise. So now you look like you're strong, but you're not actually strong because you're not following the mathematical law and design of how to work the body out. Because you follow white folks. You want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger instead of Bruce Lee. All right? You don't want to be your natural way. So all I'm saying is that the exterior can be a certain thing, but then it can actually be weak because he's not following a mathematical law. So everything has to follow a system of mathematical law. The law is you name yourself. Don't let nobody else name you. You name yourself, you're supposed to know what the name means, right? And when y'all come and take your indigenous names on, what do? You think about something in the past that embraces what? Your attributes. And then you infuse who you are with the name because the name is you. Right? And so, what you going to get out of being called John? John. It don't even feel right. You see what I'm saying? But you get another name, Akbar or something. You know, you got this, the energy is in the word. And you exude it. And so all I'm saying is that we have to understand identity at another level.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And a part of that is getting the heritage right to undo white supremacy. Then we got to get the concepts of melanin. Listen, if you ask the average black man, if he has children, he usually chooses a woman or women that are not darker than himself. The average brother. Okay? The average one. Let's say you got 1, 2 women that you have children with. All right? If they all look close to white women, that's because you've been infused to hate black.
Okay.
There is a serious problem even inside of the race with this issue. Because of the propaganda. And so now there's the melanin envy. Not only that, when we have it, we don't take care of it well. So we're eating things that are depriving the electrical nature of melanin of its power by design. Right? And so now when you wake up, you eat a heavy breakfast. You got grits, you got eggs, you got butter, you got margarine, you got toast, you got the fake jelly, you got all kind of stuff. You got Aunt Jemima syrup. And all of that is doing what to you? It's depriving you of your electrical nature. So now you're going back to sleep as soon as you wake up. Then you go at lunch and dinner, you do the same thing. Then you get vegan and you become a starchitarian. You got tofu, you got beans, or heavy, beans, you got all this stuff. And we haven't learned the science of nutrition and its connection to our psychological health. That's a big issue. They come and tell you the child has ADD, ADHD. And you say, well, the doctor said he got ADHD. He needs Ritalin, Prozac, or whatever. He can't focus. No. The child is eating oatmeal every morning.
Right.
Oh, brother, what's wrong with oatmeal? It's going to bring too much starch into the brain, literally. And as that starch gets in the brain, what's going to happen? It reduces the electrical potential in the brain, frontal lobe, and now the child can't concentrate. Because in order to focus and concentrate, you need coherent magnetic and electrical energy, and that is only operable when you're on the right nutrition.
Indeed.
So some of y'all woke up this morning and ate a starch-filled burger. That's why y'all looking at me like y'all looking at me. What did you say? Got the raw, thank you. Raw food in the back. Solution. So what are you going to do? Are y'all going to go right here to Church's Chicken, right? Who's going to slip out? Go to Church's Chicken. All right? But we don't have the police to arrest you for eating wrong, right? You got to do it right on your own. So now this becomes a huge issue, right? This becomes a huge issue. Let me tell you how huge it is, because some of y'all don't get it. All right, let me break this down. I have 6 children, right? 6 children. 2 boys and 4 girls. And from a study of the diet of each, the mother, when they were, because 2 sisters, Makeda and Sassi, from study of the diet of each mother, I can see when, I can show you, or exude to you, when the diet was optimal, it produced the darkest child. No, I mean, I can show you. All right? And so now we have to understand the power going back of the throne in that 9-month period. All right? Not only that, you'll also find that a lot of times when you're having problems between people in general, especially in relationships, is when estrogen is high in the body. All right? Brothers know what happens. When the cycle comes, he's like, yo, I'm locking the door. She got what? PMS. She's tripping today. Or yesterday. No, that's literally a biological issue. Because she shouldn't be tripping. All right? She's tripping because of poor nutrition. Because she wouldn't have estrogen spikes if she was on proper nutrition levels, regardless of ovulation. She wouldn't be hemorrhaging for 7 days. These are all things that are considered normal, and they're not normal. In our society, we call menstruation by the same word that we use for disease in West Africa. All right? And so now we knew that then. Now it's not, they made it into all kind of things. And my point is, if we don't have enough knowledge of self, we can't make the turn into our own power. We have to have the knowledge of self. Who's going to give you this? No European is going to come and tell you that eating nitrogen-based foods neutralizes melanin. They're promoting nitrogen-based foods by telling you to get more protein. Protein, which is nitrogen. So they're promoting themselves because they're nitrogen-based entities. Nitrogen is an atom that's a part of the amino molecule that reduces electrical flow in the body.
I hear you.
And produces more mucus.
I hear you.
All right? And catalyzes a whole bunch of things that go on inside the body. And so now you're not going to learn that. All right? If you're an athlete, if you just on nutrition, they're going to bring all this quacky stuff about what you should be eating, what you should not be eating. Even black herbalists soaking their supplements in alcohol.
Oh my goodness.
As a preservative. All right? We need to learn based on scientific formulas that can be tested. And all we're saying is we're developing the curriculum to do so. That's all we're saying. We're developing this curriculum, and we got to get into the curriculum to make things operable. So look, check this out. All right. Let's use a few points. I wrote this book. Anybody got this book? Black Biology and Nutrition. It's about a whole bunch of pages of nutrition and other things in it, but I want to read something from it. I'm going to show you how they tell you right inside of their books. We think they're so smart, but they tell us we don't really know. Don't you know that white folks still don't understand melanin? They don't even know what it is. They're trying to patent parts of it and clone it and do things, but they don't really know what it is. Let me read it for you. This is from The Supramolecular Structure of Melanin by Andrew A.R. Watt, Jacques P. Botha, and Paul Meredith. The melanins are an important class of multifunctional biomacromolecules with fascinating and potentially useful electronic optoelectrical properties. They are one of the last major biomacromolecular systems where we do not know how the constituent molecules organize. How does melanin aggregate into a cell? We don't know. What's the driving force? We don't know. Let me break this down to you further. Because this is a part of understanding what is reality and what's not. How many people have ever seen pictures of chromosomes? All right. And how do they look? They look like little X's, right?
Yeah.
The Y's or whatever. How many people know for a fact that white folks have never seen chromosomes in a living cell? Never. They've even developed technology so that they can try to get in vivo shots of what chromosomes look like when they're in a cell. And what happens is the technology that they're using causes what's called a perturbation, so they can't actually get a real view of what a chromosome looks like in a living cell. So all the views of chromosomes that you see are chromosomes from dead cells.
That's right.
Also another myth. you've been taught that male and female are based on X and Y chromosomes. That's a myth. I can go to Williams' Endocrinology book, 10th edition, 1,500 pages to show you white women with Y chromosomes. It's normal. We don't even know what makes a man or a woman. So a real geneticist is going to tell you, oh, that's what literature for people who don't know. Like that when we amongst each other. All right? Whether they're boys or girls. So, children coming into the womb of a mother and being conceived, and their gender is based on what? Energy. If I can track it astronomically. It's literally based on celestial rhythms throughout the year. If a conception happens at a certain time, it's going to produce a boy. If a conception happens at a certain time, it's going to produce a girl based on celestial energies that concretize at the moment of conception. Meaning that the child chose you. You didn't choose the child. All right. Okay. All right. We're going to catch up in a minute. See, all these people talk about African science. Y'all don't know nothing about it. So if a child can choose you, right, to come into existence, there has to be some type of law between your behavioral dynamic and what type of energy you are pulling on. And so if a child becomes an enemy to their parents, it's because they drew that energy because they didn't know how to map out the conception properly. So there were certain astronomical alignments that we would not even try to produce in to produce a girl or a boy because it would be problematic. So I can look at somebody's chart and see the issues. All right? So now what does it look like when we plan our children based on that level of science as opposed to accidentally having children? Right. Say accidentally, it's still not an accident, it's still a law. We have that type of information available now. Literally. If a person comes to me and says, I want to have a boy, I'll tell them what date to have it. If they want to come to me and tell me they want a girl, I'll tell them what date to have it. Or what month to conceive the child. Based on astronomy. With 100% accuracy. Anybody who wants to have a child, just come test me out. And so, but this is not something I developed. This is something I studied amongst original people. It was already there. You see what I'm saying? So, how did we lose it? Why did we lose it? We lose things and we gain things by choice. All right? And whatever you don't respect or revere, you can lose it. You can lose it. All right? And so, creation is based on a system of laws that are absolute in character. If you make the decision to violate your celestial constitution, you pay the price. You just pay the price. There has no emotion involved in it. Because these laws have been here and will be here. They don't understand disappointment. That's for us to understand. They understand reality. Them right, you're not going to get. That's the law. That's the law. Right? That's the God you're looking for. That's the force that we had studied for all this time to learn all these things. And we said, wow, we can tap into the force that's moving stars, planets, and understand how to set a culture based on that reality. Not this little pseudo stuff that we're dealing with now. This is not culture. None of it. If it was in poverty. You can't do it. I'm talking about as a group. So look, the rule is if the group, which is the resonating vehicle for the laws to come through, does not choose to live by its own innate natural laws, the group will suffer. Wow. The group will suffer. Wow. So when we call for unity, it's like a part of our consciousness that recognizes that if we just do it, we're going to get everything that we need. We already know that. Wow. But then we have these barriers that are the temporal, emotional things that are not absolute in character that we latch to, right? And we're latching to them just through basic programming. It's like being at the edge of the platform, right? When I first went to a platform, the pool was 20 feet. I'm a pretty good swimmer. I had never jumped off that. I'm looking like, man. And then my thought came in my head like, listen, you just gotta jump. And I did it. Went all the way to the bottom of the pool, got that, never was afraid to do it again. You just gotta do it. There's nothing in what happens is you start calculating on the failure. Man, if I jump and I hit it wrong, I'm going. And then you start going and then all these things are going on. Somebody tell you don't listen to that tax exemption stuff. Oh, that judge is gonna lock you up. Or if you eat that, you're gonna get sick. And then you start letting all those things on and then you don't do it. And you back away. Somebody gives you a treatment program and say, listen, if you do this for 6 months, the cancer that you have will be gone.
Exactly.
Your fibroids will disappear. Then the parasites start talking. And you either listen to them or you don't. That's how simple it is. There's no magical thing you got to do. Oh, if you do it 21 days, no, do it 1 day first.
Right.
Do it 1 day. Now you got a chance to do it for 2 days. Now you got a chance to do it for 3 days. Pretty much you look back, you did 15 days on the water fast and you cool. Everything is flushing out. So the ability to focus on these basic things is a part of the important thing. So let me read one more thing and then we can go. So why am I reading this on health? I'll tell you in a moment. Because the people keep heisting your culture, right? Check this out. All you Bible thumpers, I got something for you. Check this out. All you Bible thumpers. And then the people who are on this new vegan craze, right? Who were the first vegans on the planet? Did white people just make this up? I don't know.
Imagine a natural born carnivore to be a vegan.
Right. But look, they co-opted it and they commercialized it, and they're making all of the energy off of it, which we call money.
Exactly.
And so you gotta own it. You gotta own it. You gotta own it. It's ours. You gotta own it. Oh, let me read it. Check this out. If this is in here, I guess you gotta find it really quick.
While you're looking for that,
Go ahead.
if you notice, even now they come out with this new vegan meat product where they've isolated the proteins from vegetables to create a meat that has the texture,
Right.
a vegan meat that has the texture of meat. I'm like, well, why not just eat vegetables? Taste and look like meat, but you're saying that you of the vegetable to create it, which means now you're putting us right back in the position of
Vampires.
right. It's like it's crazy because literally, now they make this vegan blood. They take the
Nitrogen burger.
right, and I'm like, what the heck? So
That's his nature.
right. You want to take the natural thing and pervert it to create the unnatural thing and then make us eat it,
Yeah, and then
which
make it
put us right back in the
involved to eat.
position where we're going to be.
Exactly.
And we're thinking, oh, I'm eating vegan
Right.
or vegetable protein, but why not just eat the vegetable? And if you're going to get protein from a vegetable, eat the vegetable.
Right. Exactly. Now check this out. This is from the source on this is it's called Epiphanius. EPI. When you look at the video again, you'll see it. EPIPHANIUS of Salamis. SALAMIS. And the book is called Panarion. PANARION. This is from a Roman document. First volume, section 18. And they're talking about the Ansar or the Nazarenes who are in Egypt, the upper part of Egypt, and then the areas going through the areas that we call the Middle East today. This is a group of people who are considered the original Israelite groups, right? Look at what these people had to say. This is the first documentation written down of people who said we're not eating flesh, and why. The Nazarene or Ansar were Judeans by nationality, meaning they lived in Judea. Originally from Galilee and Bashantis and Transjordan area, Middle East. It, the Ansar, also recognized as fathers the persons in the Pentateuch, from Adam to Moses, who were illustrious for excellence of their piety. However, they would not accept the Pentateuch book itself. They acknowledged Moses and believed he had received some type of laws, but not this law, but some other law. And so they were Judeans who kept all of the observances of their area. They would not offer sacrifice or eat meat. In their eyes, it was unlawful to eat meat or make sacrifices with it. They claimed that these books, what we call in the Bible, are forgeries. And that none of these customs were instituted by their fathers. This was the difference between the Nazarene and others. These are black people who you would call Israelites, and saw the Nazarenes, who are saying the Bible is a forged book. The one that people are using. They're saying it's forged. Then they say, all the stuff that you see in it telling you to sacrifice and eat this meat, and the animal with clove foot, and this one open, and this one is good. They say all that's fake. We don't eat meat, and we don't sacrifice. I'm just saying, that's the first record of it. A group of people in northern Egypt and the Middle East who are saying, we don't do none of the stuff that these people around us are doing. And then they had the nerve to say this, or the record of it was this. Look at what happened. In the Epistula Moralis of Seneca, Seneca discusses the dietary practices of the Greeks who had learned foreign rites from the travels of Pythagoras. Diogenes Laertius reported that Pythagoras had undertaken extensive travels and had visited not only Egypt, but Arabia, Phoenicia, Judea, and even India, for the purpose of collecting all available knowledge, and especially to learn information concerning the secret or mystic cults of the gods. These are the works of Seneca in respect to the history of Pythagorean dietary practices. Inasmuch as I have begun to explain to you how much greater was my impulse to approach philosophy in my youth than to continue it in my old age, I shall not be ashamed to tell you what ardent zeal Pythagoras inspired me. This is Seneca talking. Sotion used to tell me why Pythagoras abstained from animal food, and why in later times Sextius did also. In each case the reason was different, but it was in each case a noble reason. I was imbued with this teaching and began to abstain from animal food at the end of a year. The habit was as pleasant and it was easy. I was beginning to feel that my mind was more active, though I would not today positively state whether it was or not. Do you ask how I came to abandon the practice? It was this way. The days of my youth coincided with the early part of the reign of Tiberius Caesar. Some foreign rites were at that time being inaugurated. So these are the Greeks amongst Pythagoras. Now, let me rewind. First of all, if you go to white vegans who really get into the culture, they say Pythagoras started veganism. Not eating flesh and those things. The Greeks did. But right in their books, the Greeks are telling you that they went down into Africa and they found these people who weren't doing it. Then you got a nerve to have the Bible. You got a nerve to have the Bible right in front of you. And then this is what's in the Bible. Then God said, I give you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the whole earth, and every tree that has fruit with seed in it. These will be yours for food. That's Genesis 1:29. Then in Genesis 9, it tells you you can eat anything. So now the stories are conflicting. But my point is, this is the principle. You have to own your culture. And so now, when you deal with the food industry, there's a blast of information about what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat, all those particular things. There's a blast of information. We have great teachers like Dr. Sabi who's come along now. He has the Healing Village in Honduras. We have great teachers like Dr. Africa. We have Dr. Jewel Pookrum. We have all of these people. You know what's going to happen to them if we don't have a body politic? Their work is going to die. When they leave, their work is going to die. That's what's going to happen. Right? And so now we have to have the institutions to say, we have an Aboriginal Medical Association. We're going to adopt all of their techniques and put them into format for curriculums to certify our own doctors. We have that right now. That's what I did. I said, well, look, Dr. Sabi is brilliant. Dr. Jewel Pookum is brilliant. Dr. Africa is brilliant. How are we going to get these people and what they teach to survive when they pass? Dr. Claude Anderson is brilliant. Dr. Mustafa Ansari is brilliant. These are political scientists in that time, and we invited them to our summit. How are we going to make sure that their works survive? How are we going to make sure that all of these works survive? How is Ali going to make sure that his works survive? It has to be a part of a body politic that we can form, various ones that we can form, so these institutions can move with a better business plan. The business plan of black people gets a current F for failure and flunking. And we need a new business plan. All right? And what we're saying in honor is we have the basic foundation for that business plan. And the next thing we're saying is we need your participation in some kind of way. But when you participate, and here's the point, the plan for indigenous autonomy should cover all of these spectrums that we deal with in our ministries. We have 12 ministries in this Constitution. What does it cover? Defense and intelligence, economics, diplomacy and communications and media, community action and family, arts and culture, health, law and justice, all right, births and deaths, Ministry of Education, the civic ministry that deals with management, Ministry of Technology, and the cosmology and spirituality. And what did we create out of these things? All right, we created a curriculum for children 4 to 17. We have an Aboriginal Patent, Trademark, and Copyright Office. All right, we've developed a certification for our own doctors, a certification for our own lawyers, a certification for our own economists. Why is that? Because we need the institutions to come up so when the child is 17, they can decide whether they want to go to work or want to continue education. So we have the basis of those things now. All right? And everything that any black institution or organization does needs to be put in that format at this time, now. And we have to qualify the information in our community that is best to propel the community forward. All right? That's the type of standards that we need to set for ourselves going into the future. However, if we don't participate and we don't back, we'll have the unique thing that starts to go on. And that unique thing is, inside of our minds, we think that some force is going to cosmically make these things happen without our willing intention to make them happen. That's it. So here's what I've recognized about our people. Check it out. The ones who have and are on their purpose are the ones who will make progress. People who are not clear about their purpose will waver and stagnate the group. And so now we have to develop systems for people to become more aware of their purpose. And we have to defeat this concept that she talked about. The reverse of the concept of white genetic annihilation is the feeling in black people they have to be apologetic for being black. And secondly, right, our people don't or do not comprehend the necessity of learning, or really, let me get this book right here. Hand me that Star Prophecy book, because I'm going to end on this point. Check this out. 2 books I want people to be aware of. First, this book. I wrote a book. This is a 437-page dissertation on the history of Islam in Africa and Asia. Why did I write this book? You want to know why I wrote this book? I wrote this book to educate Moors and Muslims on their history because they are vaguely, they're adamantly ignorant about it. About Moorish and Islamic history. Completely ignorant about it. And so, this book is to help you. because you are going to be under the highest level attack and are under the highest level attack because of the cover that white folk want to put on history. Specifically, these Masons who know the importance of the integrity of you knowing that Islamic, Muslim, and Moorish history, and specifically in West Africa. All right, as it developed in East Africa, but specifically how it culminated in places like Timbuktu. So you need this book. Every black person who is a scholar definitely needs this book. Because one of the things that has happened is there were two Jewish people who were placed over Africana studies, Melville Herkowitz and Franz Boas. I might have a picture of him in here. Let's see. I don't know. I do. Thank Ali for putting the picture in here. Melville Herkowitz and Franz Boas. Who are these two people? These are the two Jews who founded Africana studies and have controlled it. That's Franz Boas right there. Let's put it in the camera. Franz Boas. And Melville J. Herkowitz. These are two Jewish people. And so, the way that Africana studies has taken its path, and you see your old boy right there on the side, W.B. Du Bois. All right? I have to say this, and this is a big problem for people who are studying African tradition. Your concepts are being guided by foreign people or people who are put up by foreign people. And let me give you the classic example. This is not to slight our traditions in any way. We always have people who get placed in a position of infiltration. All right? Every year we celebrate Kwanzaa, right? Nothing wrong with Kwanzaa because the principles are great. They're actually great. But they become another ritual because of the source, primary source of Kwanzaa. Who is the primary source of Kwanzaa? Maulana Karenga. Now, there's a lot of controversy around this, and I don't want to hinder the controversy, but I'm using this as a precept or a principle. We need to study that particular person and his history in interacting with U.S. intelligence agencies. And the possible cause of assassinations of two very important people. But because we don't do our research, what we don't know, and I'll read this, Melville Jean Herkowitz was an American anthropologist who firmly established African and African American studies in American academia. He received his PhD in anthropology from where? Columbia University in New York, under the guidance of the German-born American anthropologist Franz Boas. How is a Jew going to be one of the primary forms of African American studies in universities?
Wow.
That means the curriculum was shaped by two Jews. Let's go. Franz Boas. He negotiated with Columbia University to consolidate various professors into one department, of which Boas would take charge. Boas' program at Columbia became the first PhD program in anthropology in America. So Boas was working on Africana studies, and he is the controller of the studies of Mayan cultures. Okay, y'all see where this is going, right? Why do these white Jewish people want to control your concepts of indigenous American anthropology and African anthropology? That's your lineage. That's your lineage. So when we say what we say in honor the indigenous lineage in the Americas and the West African lineage, we are consolidating the fact that we know that we're from both, the descendants of both, but these in academia are controlled and have been controlled by white people. So there's a man named John Allen Bila Azuma. He is a preacher, and he wrote a book about Islam in West Africa, And he was put up to write the book, and many of these people are put up to write the book. So I wanted to write this book because there's something important in it. There's one thing that's important in it. I want to highlight that, and then I'll do on the Star Prophecy, and we can open up for question and answer. The important thing in it is this, and this might sound spooky as hell, but I want it to be spooky, right? I want it to be real spooky. Check it out. I want it to be real spooky. So in Africa, during this time period, Middle Ages, you had the Roman Byzantine control in North Africa and throughout North and Northeast Africa, and then you had the Persians. And so what happened is a group of people who at the time were three groups. They were called Nobades, which was the Latinized version of Nubians, Blemies, which were the people in coming out of Aksum, and the Saracens, which were the people in northern Egypt and Sinai. These three groups in the papyruses are identified as the enemies to Roman hegemony. These were blacks in Africa. And these people in Africa, what we're calling Eritrea now, all right, and what we're calling Egypt now, all right, they got together and went into their traditions and put together a systematic political structure to overthrow Roman hegemony. And two things that they did were very important. They instituted a system of law that came from the 18th dynasty of Egypt in the development of what we call trusts today. They call them wakifas. A trust. A trust is a business operation. Okay? And then what they use the trust to do is to take the resources of the people to support the trust to build educational institutions in areas while they were fighting. To deprogram the people from the Romanization of the mind of people in Africa. And the second thing that they did is they developed an astro-theological model. Wow. The reason why they developed the astro-theological model was to overturn the Persian and Byzantine model of theology. Yeah. The theology of belief systems. Yeah. And so when you study a part of the documents that they have that are still on papyruses, right? Their thesis was this, that man and woman, and the word that they used for the man and woman who are Kama was black, could not be successful without a connection to their creator. There was no power in that. And now, today, you're being fed all these discussions about dark matter and dark energy and the quantum mind, right? This is the new talk. And the yoga and the meditation and all this other stuff, right? But the fundamental thing that you are not having in the introduction of that is the connection between your melanin and those sciences. That is forbidden. So, even though the Max Planck Institute started in the 1800s studying black body radiation and its connection to behavior in people, then this is a new subject called geomagnetic biology. And the Russians are at the forefront of the studies. And so now, when we see the organ harvesting, when we see melanin being made inside of a vial and sold to you over the counter, what we're witnessing is the ultimate ideology that Dr. Francis Cress Welsing laid down. And is this: white people have been and are in fear of white genetic destruction. That's the subconscious psychiatric analysis that she made. And so their agenda is to rob you of your power and become you at any cost. So they went from tanning to melanin injections and melanin pills.
Melatonex.
Yeah, they're selling this. And where are they getting it from? In the book, Melanin Encyclopedia, I showed you where they was getting it from. They're literally harvesting your melanin cloning it so much so they have a patent on melanin. Think about this now. And so now we need to recognize the science of the mind at a level where we can open up our minds and then activate ourselves into our purpose in this space and time to respond to the time. We're not doing that enough. And that will require you to have a cultural basis, a nutritional basis, a political basis that can put you in a better position so you can outthink your enemies. The more you unhandcuff your melanin, the better you can outthink your enemies.
Absolutely.
Because you're literally a computer, but you got a virus right now. And you need some, you don't need Norton software. All right? You need some iTunes, Amun-Ra software to get the virus off of your hard drive. And so the Dogon, let's end the conversation. Anybody got this book? Star Prophecy. I wrote this book a few years ago. This book is about the fulfillment of a Dogon prediction. Check this out. In 1983, the Washington Post put, I got all the articles from all the newspapers. But what was the article about? Check it out. Body possibly as large as the giant planet Jupiter and possibly so close to Earth that it would be part of this solar system has been found in the direction of the constellation Orion by an orbiting telescope aboard the U.S. infrared astronomical satellite. So mysterious is the object that astronomers do not know if it is a planet, a giant comet, a nearby protostar that never got hot enough to become a star, a distant galaxy so young that it is still in the process of forming its first star, or a galaxy so shrouded in dust that none of the light cast by its stars ever gets through. Quote from Dr. Jerry Newberger of IRIS. All I can tell you is that we don't know what it is. All right? The Jet Propulsion Laboratory and director of the Palomar Observatory for the California Institute of Technology said in an interview, the most fascinating explanation of this mysterious body, which is so cold it casts no light and has never been seen by optical telescopes on Earth or in space, is that it is a giant gaseous planet as large as Jupiter and as close to Earth as 50 billion miles. While that may seem like a great distance in Earth terms, it is a stone's throw in cosmological terms, so close in fact that it would be a nearby heavenly body to Earth beyond the outermost planet Pluto. This is an article placed in the Washington Post, December 30th, 1983. They saw it coming. I have the pictures inside of the book to show that this object is in your solar system now. You can go look it up. I got the right ascension and declination. You can use Google telescopes, online telescopes to go look at it. So you have two stars in your system right now. One is considered an infrared star. All right, you have to use infrared telescopes to see it, and of course you have the sun. But that's not the important part. Okay, well, there's a star here. Did you see CNN or anybody announce it? All right, you don't have to. They're not going to announce it. But the Dogon said it was going to happen, and they gave the description and time and all the stuff that when it was going to happen. So how can a so-called primitive African people predict that another star is going to come into our solar system before it happens and set up a whole culture around it, and then the event happens, and white folks start talking about it in 1983, you can see no more articles after that. It's the same Caucasians, or groups of them, anthropologists, who went and studied the Dogon in 1933. All right. So what did the Dogon say about this time period? Not only did they say a star would show up, the star is called Imayatolo, which means female seeds. Female seeds. Imayatolo. Female seeds. And they said that the star used to be the twin of the sun, meaning we had a binary star system before, and some kind of way the star, we lost the star. But that one day it would come back. All right? It's called the splitting of the placenta of Ogo and the manifestation of Urugu. Urugu is the pale fox. All right. Yurugu means pale fox. And so the Dogon say that at the splitting of Ama's placenta, a group of ancestors died who they called the Nomo Anagano. The Nomo Anagano are the group of 3 ancestors who died, and at the appearance of Imayatolo, they would resurrect. So this is African mythology in real time being proven through astronomical reality. Meaning that you can go look at the star now and you're not getting any announcements from any of the major networks about it. Why? Okay. The Dogon talked about it, the Hopi talked about it, other indigenous civilizations talked about it, and they said that that would be a celestial sign of the rise of their people, the various groups of people who are amongst them. And now we've seen the rise of our people. So what I'm trying to say to you and I, based on that concept of astrotheology, is that nothing can stop our rise. So why not just be on the good side of the rise? If you need any other level of confidence that our mission to raise ourselves is unstoppable, there's nothing more than I can bring to you than the fact that ancient black people predicted it, and they predicted an event that would be the precursor or the sign of it, and the event is here. If you need any other faith, any other trust, any other thing to put yourself in a position to say, it's time for me to get on my path, that's the only, and listen, stars, moon, sun, planets, these things apparently are not controlled by anybody, but yet it must be controlled by something, because some people can predict on it and get 100% accuracy. And so that is the signifying thing that I can share with you today, is that the universe, the sun, the moon, the star, the planets are backing the rise of indigenous people across the planet. The only thing that's not backing the rise of indigenous people across the planet is some indigenous people. That's it. So any of us who are of the mindset that we can stop or get in the way, be prepared to be steamrolled. If you become an enemy to the rise of your own children, the event will manifest for you to lose them. And you're doing that at a dramatic rate. But the children are raising themselves up by themselves.
Yeah.
We're one of the generations that did it. We're raising ourselves by ourselves. All right? And so we have to continue that path. And all I'm going to say is that Arna is here to assist our people at organizational functionality. It is not enough to have a whole bunch of books, read a whole bunch of books, do all these things, be an entertainer, be an athlete, be a politician, and you don't recognize the necessity of recognizing the times. All right? We had precursors, all the people. Garvey came. The messenger came. Now we had a culmination point. And at the culmination point, in orchestrating the rise of our people, those of us who have been commissioned or given some level of responsibility, I just speak for myself, the Negromania will not exist. That's being honest. I'll take 6 children, right, and run this shit by myself before I let niggas come in and destroy what's on time. So people say all they want to say about me, oh, he's a dictator. God damn it, I'm Adolf Hitler times 50, nigga. For the preservation of black people, I don't care. You can say what you want to say. You can do the videos. You can say, listen, I'll be here doing the same thing I'm doing. Same thing I've been doing for the last 10, 15 years is teaching my people the things that they can use to better improve themselves and implementing them myself. So that nobody can say it's a theory. Because everything you've been through, I've been through. You got student loans, I had them too. They chasing you, they was chasing me. All right? The police hit you upside the head, they hit me upside the head too. The judge told you was going to jail, he told me I was going to jail too. So I haven't been through everything, but I've been through enough to know the scars are real, but if you have courage and you stick to your focus, all right, you can be successful. You can put a business plan together, you can put whatever you need to put together. Our people don't have enough faith in themselves, right? And so that's something that you have to work at to develop the faith. It's not going to come by osmosis, all right? It's going to come by motion and activity. But what we do need is people who are willing to gain the proficiency to execute what's needed at the time. And the proficiency just comes by us sharing the information in a structured format so we can reproduce ideas, and then your own creativity will come in and you'll add on your unique way of bringing whatever it is that we bring in as a group. And so, with that being said, I'm going to open the floor for questions online and in here, and then we can end the conversation. Are there any questions or anything that I said? Anything about honor? Anything about information? Anything about how to? This, whatever.
What does it cost for you to school a child for a year?
Well, when we start the school, I haven't set a tuition fee yet. Our last tuition fee was $2,000 a year, and that came to about $200 a month, right? For tuition. I suspect it'll be around the same. We're not going to increase because there's not a need. It would depend on number and the number of teachers that we're going to require. But $2,000 a year would be the basic tuition fee. Now, what we're working on and will increase throughout the spring is getting children scholarships. This is something that we did before. People who have wealth in the community will offer certain scholarships to certain children, and so the child could go to school basically for free because we had somebody who, would offer a certain amount of scholarships, and we would award that to the child who was showing the greatest level of productivity. Or in this sense, the first time we're going to have to do a raffle for that. So the school is going to be from 4 to 17, the same as we ran it. I ran the school before for years, so anyone who knows me in the community, you know me in North Philly, we ran the school right there at 26th Street. So this is not something that I'll have difficulty with. In my whole life, I've been working with education, publishing materials, and educating children, so it won't be difficult. So in September of 2016, we're going to open the school back up, and yeah, you're going to be welcome. You'll see all of the information via this vehicle, Black and Nobel, online communications. The websites will have all that information.
So, you see the majority of the minds of our people that have been adversely conditioned. And, you hear about the tremendous work that people like you are doing. And you hear about the need for culture. But I get a sense of, even from my own travels and my own efforts to do my part and aligning our people, I get the impression that the majority of our people, we become like culture numb. We can't even agree on the cultures amongst our rich culture. We get a consensus that would foster unity that would then bring us back. So how do you, I'm basically with that, when we talk about a centralizing culture so that we can foster some unity.
Right.
So we're not bickering about what we did.
Got you. Some fundamental things that need to be understood. When you deal with a culture, you're dealing with a dynamic of education to start you at a point to get you to another point. And so the principles of any given indigenous civilization should have these potential things in them. And the first thing that has to be there, and I mentioned this, and this is important, is that the theological basis, theos, meaning the concept of divinity, has to be rooted in a study of the heavens. We miscall it astrology today because Greek astrology is off, but you have to have a study of the heavens. And the reason why you have to have a study of the heavens is specifically this reason. Every cell, every atom that's vibrating in this room, every animal on this earth, every planet in this solar system, every star in the universe submits itself, all right, as far as gravitational law to a particular point in space. One particular point that can be proven. And if we can identify that, we have identified the force that's upholding the universe.
Wow.
And if we can understand what that means in corresponding to us, that black dot, I just call it that for now, corresponding to us, we can organize our lives for proficiency. I'll give you an idea of how this works. Trayvon Martin, on the day that he died, if you are into high levels of divinization, you could look at the stars and the energies and see that was a day. If somebody who was skilled would have told him, Trayvon, you have to stay home today. You can't go anywhere. Why can't I go anywhere? Because the energies and the rhythms say that if you make any traveling, you could possibly die. And he went out, allegedly, to the store to go out in the rain, and the energies that day, no matter what system, I'm abreast of many different systems, ancestor names, whatever you can call them, said that if he went out, it could be a catastrophe, and he went out. The day that Martin Luther King Jr. was on that balcony, if you could look at the charts, you could see the energies. And so in reverse, other people who want to commit those events, who know these particular energies, will commit them at those nexus points to get ultimate efficiency. And so if we, the melanin dominant people, can activate those particular things in our own circle, we have tapped back into what we're calling God. For real. In real time. Which means that whatever we put our minds in as far as a collective will create the group resonance for the impossible to always happen, and the impossible things that we don't want to happen to us never to happen. And so every culture, whether it's Nile Valley, whether it's Moorish, whether it's ancient Edom, has to be rooted in that astro-theological operation in order to shape the culture, because if it's not rooted in that, it's not rooted in the real forces that shape and move and influence things in the universe. So we developed a whole course with text on that, the Book of the Ancestors. We have a whole psychological model. Because if you're going to study the mind, you have to know something about the heavens. How can you study the mind and not know how the sun impacts the psychology of people, and the behavioral dynamic of people, and the hormones in your body, and all of those things? So what we're saying is that has to be principle number one. The second principle that has to be present in all of these different cultures is an indigenous identity that is connected to changing our circumstances now. If we're going to study an indigenous culture, it should have an immediate impact on our socio-political and economic operations. And so with a root in ourself, a true knowledge of self based on mathematics, science, and real universal principle, and a paradigm that is not going to tell us we have to give somebody 10% with no return, and our return comes in the hereafter. Our return comes when we meet Jesus. Our return comes when we meet Allah with 70 virgins. Our return comes when we meet Osiris in the netherworld. All of that is pseudo. Because your return should come now. Because we live in heaven right now. This is heaven and earth. I'm standing on earth and my head is in the heavens. Literally. Right? So the interdimensional stuff that we like to get into, we in those dimensions right now. Literally. And so whether we want to look at it from any different indigenous civilization, they all taught the same thing. So we got to get rid of the mystery gods, and we got to get into reality now. So we can't say black power and not say, okay, we got a plan, and this is our 15-year plan. All of the people who live in these areas who have mortgages, we want all y'all to be tax exempt, because the reciprocal effect of you saving that money is going to say, oh, the people who are part of that group can actually own that neighborhood in 2 generations. That's a plan. That's energy. That's focusing on reality. It's outside the box, which makes it real scary. But it's inside the box because tax exemption is real. Somebody's activating that power.
Oh, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So those 2 fundamental things, I would say any cultural dynamic that wants to have an influence has to have those realities. Otherwise, you'll start arguing about isms, right, that don't exist. Right. And you'll start saying Osiris is better than Jesus. Muhammad is better than Eshu. You know, you start going, and none of that has any real, it's not real. It's not a real conversation. That's what all of those people are all dealing with the crime of adults, and that's belief. Once you start dealing with belief, ain't nothing you can say. Leave it alone. If somebody's into their belief, leave them alone. But if you're into reality, you can't have a conversation about God. Because now I'm going to show you what God is. For real. All right? And then I'm going to show, okay, we are walking supreme beings on this earth. So if you look into a mystery to solve your problems, sorry, it's not going to happen. You have to implement something based on the artistic beauty of science itself and bring it into existence. And that, you know what that does? That makes us 100% accountable. It makes us 100% accountable. Because now, we can't blame Jesus. You can't blame the fact that you missed some salat. You can't blame the fact that you didn't make the check. It didn't happen because you didn't make it happen. It didn't happen because we didn't make it happen. So our people are steeped into beliefs.
I think in the black mind, as far as like again, maybe even in my own mind, but in others people that I've talked to, we have this thing about our culture like it's just things that we did back then. And you know, speaking to you and reading some of the publications that you're putting out, it's giving me the balance in terms of now I'm starting to see that culture is actually the thing. Practicing the culture is actually the thing that realigns us back with those astral theological forces, and then we just take off.
Right. We take off.
Yeah.
We take off. And we had the conversation now.
Yeah.
Get rid of the parasites.
Yeah, I see that. I really
If you
see
get
that.
rid of the parasites at every level, in your diet, in your life, it's over. You get rid of the parasites, what's going to happen? Your own energy circuit is going to flow. It's going to be a constant return flow.
Right. And that's the beauty of the reason, the impulse why the dietary changes and stuff, people are coming on the higher impulses.
Right.
Is because the cosmos, if you will, is calling us up to qualify for our own science. To
Right.
save ourselves.
Absolutely. And look, everything, the oldest symbol on the earth for unity is a circle. The end. God is a circle. That's it. Nothing else to say.
Mm-hmm.
That's the image. And so that circle represents, ain't no sides to the circle. What side you on? No, ain't no sides. No set tripping in the circle because we all in the circle. It's complete.
That's right.
Where does the circle begin? Who started that? Nobody started it. We all started. Ali didn't start nothing. He got ideas from Garvey. He got ideas from Elijah Muhammad. He got ideas. I ain't starting nothing. Elijah Muhammad didn't start nothing. He got ideas from Master Prophet Muhammad. Master Prophet Muhammad got ideas from black civilization. Noble Drew Ali got ideas from some. There is no beginning to black excellence.
That's right.
And there is no ending. The only thing you know is a circle. That's it. And so it makes things easy, man.
Yes, sir.
It makes things, when you get the truth is so complex that it's absolutely simple.
Right.
At the end of the day. That's it. And so once you get that simplicity, you go work. You go to work. And so that's the distraction that we put on ourselves, that's showing what's operating in our minds, the fear, the lack of a desire to go forward, the possibility of what could happen if we go forward. What if we do form a body politic? What are white people going to do? Who cares?
Right.
Who cares? We are permanent people on this planet. Once we recognize that, there is no fear. We're not afraid of the cops. We're not afraid of the judges. We're not afraid of politicians. We're going to use common sense.
Right.
But we're not afraid. And so I find that is the number one thing that our people have. They're afraid of everything.
I agree.
And listen, all of us who are aware, once fear goes, that's when you become alive. All the knowledge might not be there. All the expertise might not be there. You know what I mean? But the courage and there's no fear, it's over.
Right.
And so everything is about keeping you afraid of doing whatever. Man, you got an opportunity to live your life. Listen, all of us in this room right here, most likely 150 years from now, we won't be here. So you know you're going to have to lay down one day.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? You know you're going to have to lay down one day. Live your life to the fullest.
You ain't getting out alive.
Listen, you can live through your children. Hey, some of us think that we're going to incarnate again. That's cool. But you're going to come back and still got unfinished business.
And you white.
Right. Go ahead, Troy.
I want to say thank you very much for this one statement you just made, which we are permanent people to the planet. That is such a key concept, and I've never heard anybody actually espouse it in that manner. But just think about it, we're the original people and we're the permanent people to the planet.
Period.
Why aren't we living it that way?
Right, right.
And so that was really, really key. Also, we just talked basically about cosmology.
Right.
So I wanted to find out when is the next cosmology class, because everyone needs to, in my humble opinion, and this is my opinion,
right,
that I don't care what other area you specialize in, everyone should take cosmology. Because you can't even understand how to efficiently be effective in the other areas that you're called to if you don't know your energy and how it's circulating around you throughout your day, your week, your month. So everyone should really take the cosmology course to get a better understanding of how to, utilize the energy in your life more effectively on a consistent basis. So I wanted to find out when the next cosmology.
January 17th. The cosmology class will start the evening of January 17th. And the other health classes, we're going to start them on the 9th. We're going to push them to the 16th. So the health and the law classes will be January 16th, the morning, 10 and 12. And the cosmology and economics courses will be Sunday evenings. So we'll do them through web stream and, all the way that we deliver those courses. And if you have questions, go ahead.
Can you repeat that one more time, the time date?
Yep. January 16th, the new health course and the new law course will start. Law at 10 a.m., health at 12. January 16th, that's a Saturday. Class usually lasts about an hour and a half. These are phase 1 classes. The new economics and the new cosmology course, Sunday evenings, 6 p.m., 8 p.m. All right? And so we still have regular class, and in the evenings I'll be doing the classes via webinar and the ways that we deliver them at the house. And so, you can sign up. If you are interested in signing up and want to learn about it, go to governmentreparations.org. When you go to that site, you can go to the store, and you'll see all of the information about health courses, law courses. You can look at them, look at the curriculums, look at the information on them. If you're further interested in just getting some generic information on it, if you're on YouTube, you can go to Aboriginal Global Media, ABORIGINAL, Aboriginal Global Media. When you go there, health classes, law classes are there for you to get acclimated and familiar with it. If you think that you're ready to sign up for the courses, you can use our contact page on the website, or you can call me directly at this line, 267-258-8864. I want to congratulate some of the jurists who finished their phase 2. They did an excellent job. So we got another group of jurists, about 13 people who are ready for new processes. And they'll be helping us. We got a few that finish here in the city, 3 people that finish here. And let's just stay busy. And let's stay astute to what's going on. We're here every Sunday. Even if I'm not teaching, Minister Troy is teaching, somebody is teaching. So we can keep the information coming to you. Come here and you get information about whatever you need to do. And that's pretty much it. If you have no questions or other statements, we'll keep moving forward. Go ahead. Yeah.
Just real quick, everybody. Everybody got 2 sheets. For those of you that's been on Tuesday night call, you know that on Tuesday night we're studying 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. It's by a gentleman by the name of John C. Maxwell. My thing is that when it comes down to it, education has no color. So this gentleman has been proficient in going about and studying the laws of leadership and bringing them into 21 laws that we're working on to, so we can come together from a position of understanding how principles of business works. We've talked about in prior class us studying different things concerning the Constitution. So, as you guys know, this particular book here, it actually has our preamble in it, and it has the information concerning the ARNA Constitution. $20 book. It's a good thing to have. It gives you real good context and exactly what we're doing, and a good study tool for yourself at home. We did hand out this, which is the actual preamble. We're asking everyone to write it out every day, just so you get a knowledge of the preamble and that you can be one of the ones helping, as we take forth the charge, there'll be times when you'll be asked. You may be called upon to recite, lead everyone in reciting the preamble. Know it. Commit it to memory, commit it to heart. Also, the 12 general orders. We printed this out and made sure everyone had a copy of it. Learn these orders. These orders are just to help us as we're functioning as a community working together within ARNA. If you're not part of ARNA, it's okay. Still learn it. Then you know kind of like who we are as well. And if you do decide to join, you already know the information. It's not going to hurt you. It's only going to help. We also ask everyone to sign in. Princess Ali, if you could stand up, please. We ask everyone to sign in with Princess Ali. We ask for a donation of $10. If you don't have $10, whatever you can give, we request that you do. Not for the purpose of us just collecting money. There are things that deal with from a background perspective, whether it be maintaining equipment, whether it be maintaining the actual lighting here or the facility, or being able to have chairs or other audio equipment, video equipment that's going to be needed, different things of that nature. If we're doing, we're going to be going back on another walk again because we had done a tour of Philadelphia. We're going to be doing that again. It's just different things where costs are involved, and so that not one person's burdened down with the cost. We ask that everyone please give a donation. So see Princess Ali, if you haven't, give your donation just to simply help with those particular facets. For people that are nationals, you know that it's $10. Bottom line, if you're national. If you're non-national, we ask that you donate, what you can. We prefer that you donate 10 if you can't. Whatever you can give, we just simply ask that you give so that we can move forward in a very specific manner and it doesn't hinder. So we definitely appreciate you. Anything else?
No. Any announcements? Anybody? Okay.
Yeah. We already talked about when the next class is. Please make sure you go online. Share with your friends, family, loved ones. You do not have to be a part of ARNA to take the class. So you can actually take the class whether you're part of ARNA or not. There are many people that love to have the different abilities to move forward in various manners if they only have the information. So please share it with your friends, family, loved ones. If you're looking for the YouTube videos, what we're going to ask you to do is to go onto blackandnoble.com. The recent video is posted on the website. If you're looking for prior videos, go onto YouTube and put in Black and Nobel, and what you'll see is that the various videos from the various times that information has been shared will pop up, and then you can actually watch those. Share it with your friends, share it with your loved ones, share it with your family. And we're also on Facebook, which is Facebook.
If you just put in Dr. Ali Muhammad on Facebook, you can get us there, or Aboriginal Group Discussions. We have a group on Facebook where we share information.
Okay.
YouTube. Yeah, I mentioned the YouTube, Aboriginal Global Media, along with Black and Nobel. You can get our latest videos on those two.
All right. And if you do need, cosmology readings, health screenings, if you need to set up time for any type of circumstance, I mean, it could be marital issues, whatever you're going through, you can, definitely touch base with either Dr. Ali or Princess Ali. I actually do massage. I'm a massage therapist by trade. I have a degree in massage therapy. So if you're dealing with any physical circumstances like that, even physical ailments, we're here as well. So we bring a full litany of things to help from a provision standpoint. So we definitely appreciate you for coming out today. Continue to come out. Continue to invite your friends, family, loved ones. We're looking to grow, but not just us grow as individuals or even just as ARNA, but just to get the information out there, because people just are unaware of what's available to them. So thank you once again. We do have our books. We have our elixirs. Definitely want to take part in those things as well. And with that, you guys have a wonderful week on purpose.
Thank you. Give it to a second round of applause. Yeah, absolutely. Leave one out?
No, I'm not gonna.
Okay, no, I'm putting it to the side.
Okay.
Because you know how folk are, they just come grab stuff. All right, so I'm going to break this stuff down. Yes, sir.
Good.
Good guy?
Yeah.
Oh, come here, hold on. The last text, I was a little confused. You said something about you said something about the following. I read it, and I was like, on that court. The only thing that's in right now is that court got to be filed. Lawyer and security. So you think we need to take this one? Yeah, just a bit about. We don't have a case like that. Right. So we just gotta take what we have and then file it in the court, but you're saying there's no case number. Okay, so we need to change that name to that original magistrate and then send it. Okay. So yeah, so we can add the name. Okay, yes sir. We can. Yes sir. Yeah. So we can add.